When thinking about mafia bosses, one might envision seasoned leaders with decades of experience and numerous crimes to their names. However, some rise to power at a remarkably young age, groomed from birth to lead criminal enterprises. For instance, Emanuele Sibillo, known as ES-17, became a notorious figure in Naples' Camorra. By 15, he was already involved in criminal activities, and by 19, he led a faction of young mobsters, the Paranza dei Bambini, or Trawler of Children. In this video, I will explore some of the youngest mafia bosses who are still active. Giani Nini. We often hear stories about young men who either have family ties to the mafia or grow up in neighborhoods heavily influenced by its members. In the United States, particularly in areas like New York, this is a common narrative for many young men. However, in Italy and Sicily, the dynamic operates on an entirely different level. There, it's not merely about following in a family member's footsteps or being shaped by one's environment. Instead, the mafia is deeply intertwined with culture and tradition, making it a rite of passage. For young men in these regions, this expectation goes beyond family influence or geography. It's ingrained in their way of life. It is in this kind of environment that Giani Nini grew up, also known as U Picciuteru, or if you are the English type, you can call him the little boy. He is a prominent figure in the Sicilian Mafia, or Cosa Nostra. Born in Palermo in 1981, Nini quickly rose through the ranks, earning a reputation as a skilled enforcer and a loyal operative. His rise coincided with a period of upheaval within the Cosa Nostra, as authorities intensified efforts to dismantle the organization following the high-profile assassinations of anti-mafia prosecutors Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino in the early 1990s. Nini became one of the youngest and most influential capos of the Porta Nuova district in Palermo. His authority extended over various illicit activities, including extortion, drug trafficking, and racketeering. He was a close associate of Matteo Messina Denaro, the elusive boss of bosses of Cosa Nostra, further solidifying his status within the mafia hierarchy. He would then go on to gain international notoriety in 2009 when he was apprehended in a dramatic raid by Italian authorities. He had been a fugitive since 2006, evading capture with the help of a network of loyalists, and his arrest was a significant blow to the mafia as Nini was considered one of its most promising young leaders. While Nini's rise reflects the cultural and hierarchical complexities of the Sicilian mafia, Turmel's ascent highlights the brutal, power-driven conflicts defining Quebec's underworld. David Pic Turmel. At 27 years old, Turmel led the Blood Family Mafia, BFM, in Quebec. The BFM has been involved in violent confrontations with established groups like the Hells Angels, refusing to pay traditional taxes and engaging in brutal tactics, including torture. Turmel rose to prominence through his control over lucrative drug distribution networks and his gang's willingness to engage in brutal turf wars to maintain dominance. His moniker, Pic, was a reflection of not just his reputation, but his sharp strategy and his ruthless approach to consolidating power. His gang, the BFM, has been at the center of high-profile violence in Quebec. In recent years, the BFM clashed with the Hells Angels during a fierce territorial dispute in eastern Quebec. This conflict involved kidnappings, torture, and armed confrontations, marking a significant escalation in gang-related violence in the region. Despite intensified police efforts, Turmel has evaded capture. He has been a fugitive since 2023, with warrants issued against him for drug trafficking and armed violence. Authorities believe he is hiding in Europe, possibly with the assistance of transnational criminal networks. An Interpol Red Notice has been issued to facilitate his international apprehension. Turmel's criminal enterprise has suffered blows from law enforcement, including the arrest of key associates. In 2024, his right-hand man, Ruben Denis, was captured in Portugal, and another close collaborator, Guillaume Saint-Louis Bernier, was arrested in British Columbia. These arrests highlight the expansive reach of the BFM, operating far beyond Quebec's borders. The reach of Turmel's Blood Family Mafia extended through trusted associates like Guillaume Saint-Louis Bernier, whose arrest exposed its operations further. Guillaume Saint-Louis Bernier. At 28 years old, Guillaume Saint-Louis Bernier is a key figure allegedly linked to Quebec's Blood Family Mafia, BFM. Up until 2024, he was the terror of Quebec. Considered a close associate of Dave Pic Turmel, the leader of the BFM, who remains at large and is believed to be evading capture in Europe, Turmel has been tied to armed violence and drug trafficking, further underscoring the high-profile nature of his alleged criminal network. The BFM has been central to violent conflicts in Quebec, including a turf war with the Hells Angels scandals that involved kidnappings and torture. The arrest of St. Louis Bernier was facilitated by the combined efforts of the RCMP, Quebec City Police, and the Sûreté du Québec. Members of the SPVQ's tactical squad who traveled to British Columbia to bring him back to Quebec, where he is expected to face court proceedings. The rise of young ambitious leaders like Guillaume St. Louis Bernier echoes similar trends seen globally, including figures such as Emanuele Sibilio, often referred to as the Gen Z Mafia boss, was a young and ambitious leader of the Camorra, Naples' notorious organized crime network. Born into a modest family in the Forcella district of Naples, Sibilio quickly rose through the ranks of the Camorra by embracing a modernized and aggressive approach to gang leadership. At just 19 years old, he met a violent end in 2015, but his influence endures as a mythical figure in Neapolitan crime lore. Sibilio founded the Paranza dei Bambini, or the Children's Fishing Trawler, a gang of young recruits aiming to challenge the traditional family-based Camorra clans. Sibilio's leadership was marked by a bold strategy of using his youth as an asset, recruiting teenagers like himself to establish a new power base. Known for their reckless violence, the group engaged in steamy, random, and chaotic shootouts in the streets of Naples. These acts of public aggression were designed to instill fear and assert dominance. Even in death, Sibilio's legacy looms large. He is celebrated by his followers as a martyr and has become a symbol of rebellion and power for younger generations in Naples. An altar with his bust found in his family home remains a shrine for the gang, embodying his saint-like status. Shop owners, forced to pay protection money, were reportedly made to kneel before the bust as a sign of submission. While Emanuele Sibilio's rise and fall in Naples highlighted the reckless ambition of youth in organized crime, across the Atlantic, Billy Arnold's brutal leadership in Detroit demonstrated a more calculated and sustained approach to gang dominance rooted in violence and fear. Billy Arnold, a 37-year-old Detroit native, was the leader of the 7 Mile Bloods, a violent street gang that operated in the city's notorious Red Zone. The gang controlled the area between 7 and 8 Mile roads, engaging in activities such as drug trafficking, extortion, and deadly rivalries with other gangs. Arnold's leadership was defined by ruthless violence, calculated intimidation, and the use of social media to spread fear and control. Rising to prominence in Detroit's gangland, Arnold was known for his strategic and hands-on approach to gang warfare. He was directly involved in numerous violent crimes, including murders, shootings, and assaults that left a trail of devastation across the city. In July 2014, while on parole, Arnold orchestrated a killing outside a Detroit parole office, targeting rival gang members and further escalating an ongoing feud. His actions led to a series of retaliatory attacks, marking the height of violence between the 7 Mile Bloods and rival factions. Arnold's brazen acts of violence included incidents where innocent bystanders became collateral damage. One victim, paralyzed while walking with his children, was a grim example of Arnold's disregard for human life. Arnold's leadership style combined old-school intimidation tactics with modern tools like social media, where he and his gang posted hit lists to terrorize rivals and the community. As figures like Billy Arnold exemplified the brutal realities of gang leadership in Detroit, Vincent Basano Jr.'s story offers a glimpse into the evolving legacy of organized crime within the shadow of his father's infamous reputation. Vincent Basano Jr., the 33-year-old son of notorious Bonanno crime family boss Vincent "Vinny Gorgeous" Basciano, gained notoriety not for violent mafia activity, but for his involvement in a marijuana trafficking enterprise. Alongside his brothers Joseph and Stephen, Basciano Jr. operated a distribution network transporting large quantities of marijuana from California to New York between 2009 and 2013. Basciano Jr. grew up in the shadow of his father, Vincent Basciano Sr., a once glamorous mob boss who is now serving 2 life sentences in a Colorado prison for his role in multiple murders. Despite his father's infamy, Vincent Jr. initially avoided criminal activity and maintained a clean record until his involvement in the marijuana trade. His family ties and eventual criminal enterprise have drawn comparisons to the legacy of organized crime within the Basciano lineage. Federal investigators dismantled the brothers' operation in 2013, uncovering their scheme to transport and distribute hundreds of pounds of marijuana. While Vincent Jr. played a leading role in the business, his brothers Joseph and Stephen also faced prison sentences, Stephen for 3.5 years and Joseph for 6 months. Transitioning from the story of Vincent Basciano Jr., whose legacy diverged from traditional mob violence, Joseph "Little Joe" Di Benedetto presents a contrasting narrative. A soldier in the Lucchese crime family, Di Benedetto's career reflects a blend of calculated professionalism and the complexities of navigating familial ties within organized crime. Joseph Di Benedetto Little Joe Di Benedetto, a soldier in the Lucchese crime family and son-in-law to boss Vittorio Little Vic Amuso, has been a notable figure in the Brooklyn faction of the organization. While he has faced several legal indictments over the years, his reputation is complex, with some labeling him a formidable mobster and others speculating about his reliance on familial connections for respect within the Mafia. Di Benedetto's criminal career is marked by involvement in loan sharking, extortion, and construction racketeering. In May 2000, he was charged with loan sharking alongside Lucchese capo Joseph Tangora and other associates, further entangling him in the family's illicit activities. The following year, he was implicated in schemes involving the looting of union pension funds and no-show jobs in construction companies tied to the Cement and Concrete Workers Union, Local 20. In 2002, he faced additional charges of construction racketeering alongside Lucchese underboss Stephen Cray and other high-ranking members. Interestingly, Di Benedetto has earned a mixed reputation within Mafia circles. While his familial ties to Amuso might suggest he leveraged his relationship for influence, Lucchese turncoat John Panisi described him as a highly effective mobster who did not rely on his father-in-law's status for respect. Panisi even recounted instances demonstrating Di Benedetto's restraint and professionalism, such as his refusal to retaliate violently against a Gambino associate who attacked him in a public altercation. From the calculated professionalism of Joseph Di Benedetto, the narrative shifts to Paulie Roast Beef Cassano, a Lucchese soldier whose criminal exploits and distinctive nickname make him a colorful yet formidable figure in the family's operations. Paulie Roast Beef Cassano, born in 1979, is a soldier in the Bronx faction of the Lucchese crime family, known for his involvement in organized crime spanning racketeering, narcotics, and violent enforcement. His criminal record and reputation within the Lucchese family highlight his role in some of the family's significant East Coast operations. Cassano's name became infamous following an August 2016 indictment alongside 45 other individuals tied to criminal enterprises stretching across the eastern United States. The charges against him and his associates outlined a wide array of illicit activities, including drug trafficking and firearms offenses. In May 2017, Cassano faced further legal trouble when he, along with prominent Lucchese members such as street boss Matthew Madonna, underboss Stephen Cray Sr., and consigliere Joseph DiNapoli, was indicted for a series of high-profile crimes. Among these charges was the attempted 2012 murder of a Bonanno family associate. This incident started from a confrontation where Bonanno associates stormed a Lucchese Bronx social club, offending Lucchese underboss Stephen Cray Sr. In retaliation, Cray Sr. ordered his son, Capo Stephen Cray Jr., to eliminate the offender. Cray Jr. delegated the task to Cassano and fellow soldier Vincent Bruno. Although Cassano and Bruno attempted the hit, they failed, and the conflict was eventually resolved without further bloodshed. In 2017, Cassano pled guilty to attempted assault in aid of racketeering, avoiding harsher penalties but still receiving an 18-month prison sentence. Following his release on September 20th, 2018, Cassano's activities remain relatively low profile compared to his earlier exploits. Despite his criminal past, Cassano has become a memorable figure in modern Mafia lore, partly due to his nickname, Paulie Roast Beef, which adds a distinct character to his legacy within the Lucchese family. From the colorful exploits of Paulie Roast Beef Cassano, we turn to Petro Tagliavia, whose rise within the Sicilian Mafia reflects a blend of family legacy and strategic maneuvering, marking him as a pivotal figure in Cosa Nostra's evolving leadership. Petro Tagliavia. Petro Tagliavia, born in 1978, is a prominent member of the Sicilian Mafia, Cosa Nostra, with deep roots in organized crime. Despite his relatively young age, he is regarded as one of the emerging leaders in Palermo, poised to influence the Mafia's future. His rise in Cosa Nostra has been shaped by a legacy of criminal activities and a family history steeped in Mafia traditions. Tagliavia belongs to a historical Mafia family based in the Corso dei Mille neighborhood of Palermo. His father, Francesco Ciccio Tagliavia, and his grandfather, also named Pietro, were significant figures in Cosa Nostra. The family owned fish shops in Palermo and were involved in cigarette smuggling and drug trafficking. Francesco Tagliavia was notorious for his expertise in explosives and participated in numerous murders, including the 1992 bombing that killed anti-mafia judge Paolo Borsellino. Arrested in 1993, Francesco received multiple life sentences under Italy's harsh Article 41 bis prison regime. Pietro's mother, Giuseppa Sansone, was the first woman charged with aiding and abetting Cosa Nostra. After Francesco's arrest, she continued managing the family's mafia operations, including extortion and drug trafficking. Her activities included acting as an intermediary between her imprisoned husband and other mafia bosses. She was arrested in 1997 and later sentenced to 7 years in prison, though she was eventually absolved. From the deep-rooted traditions of Sicily's Cosa Nostra under Petro Tagliavia, we shift to the streets of Brooklyn, where Mo Leak, Mo Money, Harrell, and the Bully Gang carved out a violent legacy. Though separated by geography and cultural context, both illustrate the evolving nature of organized crime, blending ruthless leadership with calculated criminal enterprise. Derek D. Ayers and Mo Leak, Mo Money, Harrell. The Bully Gang, a notorious street crew based in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, left a trail of violence and destruction across New York City and the eastern seaboard before being dismantled through a series of federal convictions. Founded by Mo Leak, Mo Money, Harrell, the gang operated with ruthless efficiency, engaging in murder, racketeering, and drug trafficking that terrorized neighborhoods and extended their influence into prison systems. At the helm, Harrell, a calculated and commanding figure, led the gang from its inception. Alongside him was Derek D. Ayers, a longtime associate whose name became synonymous with the gang's bloody turf wars. Ayers was convicted of the 2018 murder of Jonathan Jackson, a rival gang member, during a gender reveal party for Harrell's child. This act, emblematic of the gang's brazen violence, was part of an ongoing feud with rival crews. Franklin Spaz Gillespie served as an enforcer, wielding violence as a tool to silence dissent and maintain order. His conviction for conspiring to murder Mike Hawley, an informant who was killed just days after speaking to law enforcement, underscored the gang's determination to eliminate threats. Anthony Biggie Kennedy, a seasoned member, was deeply involved in the gang's operations, from trafficking drugs to maintaining control within the prison system. The gang's criminal enterprise extended far beyond traditional street-level crimes. They distributed cocaine, heroin, and fentanyl across the East Coast, using cars outfitted with hidden compartments. Their ingenuity was evident in their methods of smuggling synthetic marijuana into Rikers Island, soaking comic books and other paper products to evade detection. Even while incarcerated, Harrell and Kennedy directed operations, demonstrating the gang's extensive reach. As the Bully Gang's violent reign in Brooklyn demonstrated the brutality of local street crews, Edennilson, Velasquez, Larin, and Hugo Diaz Amaya of MS-13 took that savagery to a transnational scale, wielding fear and violence to dominate communities across the U.S. East Coast. Edennilson, Velasquez, Larin, Tiny, and Hugo Diaz Amaya, Splinter. Edennilson Velasquez Larin, known as Tiny, and Hugo Diaz Amaya, called Splinter, are senior leaders within MS-13, one of the most violent transnational gangs with roots in El Salvador and Honduras. Both men rose to prominence as key figures in the gang's U.S. operations, overseeing brutal acts of violence and orchestrating criminal activities across Long Island and Queens. Lauren, at 35, was a figure of fear and authority within the gang. Known for his cold-blooded leadership, he was responsible for ordering or participating in several murders. In one particularly gruesome case, he allegedly commanded the killing of Eric Monge, a fellow gang member, outside Monge's car moments after Monge's wife and children had walked away. This act was emblematic of MS-13's readiness to eliminate even their own if loyalty was in doubt. In 2016, Lauren also targeted Kenny Reyes, an 18-year-old from Honduras, suspected of being connected to a rival gang. After befriending Reyes and luring him into a wooded area under the guise of smoking marijuana, Lauren and a co-conspirator hacked him to death with machetes. Such violent displays reinforced MS-13's reputation for savagery and helped solidify Lauren's fearsome status within the gang. Amaya, aged 36, shared Lauren's brutal disposition and acted as a high-ranking enforcer. In 2022, both men ordered the murder of Oswaldo Gutierrez Medrano, a fellow gang member. Gutierrez, under the false pretense of receiving a promotion, was instead lured into the woods, where he was dismembered with machetes and knives before being buried. From the violent reach of MS-13 leaders Edennilson Velasquez Larin, Tiny, and Hugo Diaz Amaya, Splinter, we turn to Staten Island, a borough steeped in New York City's organized crime lore. Figures like James Jimmy Frogs Galleone and the Lucchese family's presence highlight Staten Island's role as a pivotal hub in the city's mob history. James Jimmy Frogs Galleone Staten Island has long been intertwined with New York City's organized crime history, serving as a hub for mob activities. Though the Gambino family often dominates the narrative, the Lucchese crime family has also left a significant imprint on the borough. A series of high-profile incidents reveal their deep entanglement in the borough's criminal underbelly. One of the most notable Lucchese-linked cases dates back to 1989, when the murder of DEA agent Everett Hatcher sent shockwaves through law enforcement. Hatcher was working undercover in Staten Island when he was killed by Costabile Gus Ferraz, a Prince's Bay resident. Ferraz, a fugitive, was ultimately murdered in a gangland hit orchestrated by Lucchese associates James "Jimmy Frogs" Gallioni and Mario Gallo, reportedly to ease law enforcement pressure. Another grisly moment came in 1990 with the murder of George Booty Van Name. He was executed for testifying against the Staten Island-based Port Richmond crew. The crew, led by members like Anthony "Tony Bones" Lafredo, was heavily involved in racketeering and drug trafficking. The family's influence extended into creative criminal enterprises, including Joseph Safuto's drug ring, which operated out of a lickety-split ice cream truck. This operation epitomized the audacity of Lucchese schemes, blending everyday commerce with illicit dealings. Even into the 2010s, the Lucchese family remained active. Initiation ceremonies, like those presided over by Matthew Madonna and the attempted murder of a federal witness by Joseph Big Joe DeTello, underscore their enduring presence. Staten Island continues to be a significant stronghold in the family's operations, cementing its reputation in New York's mob history. From the calculated actions of James "Jimmy Frogs" Gallioni, we shift to another figure navigating organized crime's dangerous hierarchy: Joseph "Joey" Relay Lubrano, aka Big Joey. Joseph "Joey" Relay Lubrano, also known as Big Joey, is a reputed captain in the Lucchese crime family with a colorful reputation that stretches beyond traditional mob activities. Known as a charismatic figure in the Mafia dating circuit, Lubrano has been frequently associated with numerous women linked to organized crime. His romantic entanglements have not only earned him notoriety, but have also reportedly intersected with significant Mafia events. One of the more talked about aspects of Lubrano's life involves his ex-wife, who is allegedly romantically involved with Michael Meldish, a notorious figure in the Bronx underworld, around the time of Meldish's 2013 murder. Some speculate that this connection may have played a role in Meldish's demise, though other factors, such as internal power struggles and debt disputes, are believed to have contributed. Lubrano's ex-wife is also rumored to have been involved with other prominent figures in the Mafia, including Vincent "Vinny Gorgeous" Basciano, highlighting her own connections to the mob's complex social web. Lubrano himself has been described as a rising star within the Lucchese family. Once seen as being groomed for an administrative position within the organization, his prospects may have shifted with the power transition from the Bronx to Brooklyn leadership. Still, his standing as a Bronx-based captain with long-standing ties to influential figures keeps him relevant in the current Lucchese hierarchy. From Joseph "Joey" Relay Lubrano's calculated operations in the Bronx, we turn to Angelo Spot Jr., whose ties to the Colombo family reveal the intricate intersections of family loyalty and organized crime. Angelo Spot Jr. Angelo Spot Jr., commonly known as Little Angelo, is a unique figure in the world of organized crime, blending familial legacy, local fame, and mob connections into an intricate story of power and influence. Born into a family steeped in the traditions of both the Mafia and Italian-American culture, Angelo Spot Jr. leveraged his father's connections and his marriage to Carmine Jr., Persico's daughter, to establish himself as a key operative in the Colombo crime family. Spata's father, Angelo Spata Sr., started as a humble sausage and pepper vendor at New York's famed Italian festivals. Over time, however, he became involved with the Gambino family in the 1980s, paying tribute to capos like Olimpio Lilo Garofalo and later Jackie D'Amico, John Gotti's right-hand man. While the elder Spata gained access to lucrative festival concessions, his ties to organized crime grew deeper, eventually positioning him as a trusted associate due to his Sicilian roots and connections to the Gambino family's Zips, or Sicilian-born faction. Junior Spata inherited not just the family's bustling festival stands, such as those at the Feast of San Gennaro, but also its underworld connections. Through his marriage to the daughter of Colombo boss Carmine Persico, he became a trusted messenger between Persico, imprisoned since 1985, and the rest of the family. Spata was central to maintaining Persico's grip on the organization, delivering orders and ensuring communication flowed seamlessly. By the 2000s, Spata had cemented his position in the Colombo family, running illegal gambling operations, joker poker machines, and loan sharking enterprises. cartels. His control over festival rackets, particularly Bensonhurst's Figli de Santa Rosalia, was a lucrative venture, with vendors paying thousands in under-the-table fees to operate. He further used his company, Toy Store Amusements, to manage rigged gaming machines, bolstering his illicit income. Despite his mafia ties, the Spada family maintained a prominent public image. Their Diker Heights home became a local attraction during Christmas, adorned with extravagant decorations and drawing crowds from across New York City. Lucy Spada, Angelo Sr.'s wife, was even crowned Queen of the Feast of San Gennaro, symbolizing the family's deep integration into both cultural and criminal spheres. From Angelo Spot Jr.'s entanglement in the Colombo family's operations, we shift to Los Chapitos, the heirs of the Sinaloa cartel. Their rise highlights the evolving dynamics of transnational organized crime, blending tradition with modern brutality to dominate Mexico's drug trade. Los Chapitos. The Chapitos, the infamous sons of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman Loera, have emerged as pivotal figures within the Sinaloa cartel, wielding considerable influence over Mexico's drug trade. Joaquin Guzman Lopez, Ovidio Guzman Lopez, Ivan Archivaldo Guzman Salazar, and Jesus Alfredo Guzman Salazar are collectively recognized for their growing dominance, particularly in the synthetic drug market. Their power stems from their father's legacy, which they inherited after his arrest and extradition in 2017. Introduced to the cartel's operations as teenagers by El Chapo and Ismael El Mayo Zambada, the Chapitos learned the intricacies of the drug trade early on. By the mid-2010s, they began asserting themselves as significant players within the organization. Their rise was punctuated by notable incidents, including their 2016 abduction by the CJang in Puerto Vallarta and their father's extradition, which deepened rifts within the Sinaloa cartel. Conflicts erupted between the Chapitos, their uncle El Guano, and factions loyal to El Mayo, leading to violent clashes. The Chapitos have modernized the cartel's operations, emphasizing synthetic drugs like fentanyl and methamphetamine. They dominate trafficking routes into the United States and have expanded to emerging markets, such as Australia. However, their operations have not been without brutality. In 2023, they reportedly imposed a ban on fentanyl production, enforcing compliance with severe punishments, including executions. Their control extends beyond narcotics. They've been implicated in high-profile murders, including that of Jose Rodrigo Arechiga Gamboa, El Chino Antrax, and are known for their violent enforcement of loyalty. Despite setbacks such as Ovidio's arrest and extradition, the Chapitos' ability to mobilize armed responses, like the blockades in Culiacan, demonstrates their formidable influence. From the rise of Los Chapitos as heirs to the Sinaloa cartel's legacy, we turn to Ruben Oseguera Gonzalez, also known as El Menchito, whose role as the son of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, El Mencho, underscores the powerful influence of familial ties within Mexico's Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG. Ruben Oseguera Gonzalez. Ruben Oseguera Gonzalez, better known as El Menchito, is a U.S.-born Mexican drug lord and former high-ranking member of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG. Born on February 14, 1990 in San Francisco, California, he is the son of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, El Mencho, the leader of the CJN and one of Mexico's most wanted fugitives. Often referred to as his father's right-hand man, Ruben managed significant aspects of the CJN's international drug trafficking operations, earning a reputation for ruthlessness and efficiency. Oseguera Gonzalez allegedly rose to prominence as the CJN's second-in-command, overseeing the cartel's narcotics trade, financial operations, and violent enforcement. He coordinated large shipments of cocaine, methamphetamine, and other narcotics from South America to the United States. He also managed CJN's gasoline theft rackets in Jalisco and led squads of hitmen to protect cartel territories from rivals such as the Knights Templar and Los Zetas. Following years of legal battles, Ruben was extradited to the United States in 2020 to face charges of drug trafficking and using firearms in furtherance of his criminal activities. His case underscored significant issues within Mexico's judicial system, highlighting the tension between prosecutors and judges. In September 2024, a federal jury in Washington, D.C. convicted him of multiple charges, including international drug trafficking and orchestrating violent cartel activities. As the heir apparent to his father, El Menchito's fall dealt a severe blow to the CJNG. His life and criminal career remain emblematic of the ongoing challenges in combating transnational organized crime. That brings us to the end of this video. For more interesting videos like this, click on the cards on your screen.